Hi, my name is Robin Wong and this is the Olympus OMD E-M10 Mark IV. I want to review it in this video. Let's do this! Before we dive in, here are some important disclaimers. I am an Olympus visionary and ambassador to the brand. The E-M10 Mark IV was on loan from Olympus Malaysia and I have to return the camera to them after this review. This is a non-technical review. You will not see any graphs, charts or technical comparisons. I'm merely sharing my experience as a professional photographer shooting with the E-M10 Mark IV. The E-M10 Mark IV is the direct successor to the E-M10 Mark III. Being an Olympus OMD, it shares a lot of DNA with the big brothers E-M5 and E-M1 series. This is a stripped down version of the Olympus OMD since E-M10 series has always been designed for entry-level users, therefore it is missing some high-level professional features like full weather sealing, magnesium alloy build, some advanced shooting features like high-resolution shot, pro capture mode and focus stacking. However, don't let that fool you. This is still every bit an Olympus OMD camera. It can perform really well and deliver fantastic images. In comparison to the predecessor E-M10 Mark III, Olympus has made some important upgrades to the E-M10 Mark IV. The image sensor has a bump of resolution from 16 to 20 megapixels. The 5-axis image stabilization has also been improved from 4 steps to 4.5 steps EV compensation. Now the screen at the back of the camera is tilt selfie capable. It tilts down just like the EPL series cameras, and Olympus claimed that they have modified and improved the hand gripping area of the camera. Almost everything else about the E-M10 Mark IV is still similar with the E-M10 Mark III. The camera can shoot 4K up to 30 frames per second and is still using TruePic 8 image processor. The E-M10 Mark IV looks very similar in design to the previous E-M10 series cameras. Perhaps the differentiating factor is the very obvious lettering Roman number 4 at the front of the camera. After all, Olympus derived the OMD camera designs from the retro vintage OM film cameras. The E-M10 Mark IV's body is made of fully plastic. This is an entry-level camera that's expected and also to keep the weight down. Though it's made of plastic, the body does feel really dense, solid and reassuring. There are no creaky parts. It doesn't feel cheap at all. In fact, it feels really good. The layout of the body, the buttons, dials, placement are exactly the same as from the E-M10 Mark III. Nothing seems to have changed. Even the EVF panel and the LCD panel are exactly the same. However, the LCD screen is now, just like the EPL9, can be flipped down for selfie taking purposes. For some people this is a plus, but I think the video crowd will be very mad at this. A lot of the video shooters will prefer the screen to have a swivel capability to go out, and that will definitely help much better in different shooting conditions. Also, there is no microphone in. That is a miss from Olympus. No mic in, and here at the side you can see 2 ports, one for micro USB, is also power delivery, USB charging capable, and there is the micro HDMI port. When it comes to camera handling, the Olympus E-M10 Mark IV is a big improvement over the previous E-M10 series cameras. Olympus has modified the hand gripping area. The top of the grip is recessed. This allows the middle finger to sit more comfortably and securely on the grip itself. I've been shooting with the E-M10 Mark IV paired with the Olympus 12-40 f2.8 Pro for the entire day testing this camera. I didn't feel any strain on my wrist or my fingers, the shooting experience was very positive and I was very comfortable using the E-M10 Mark IV. Perhaps the E-M10 Mark IV is best paired with the smaller and lighter micro four thirds lenses. After all, this is quite a small and light camera body. It weighs only 383 grams. Therefore, if you use larger and heavier lenses like 12 to 100 Pro or 40 to 150 Pro, it will definitely get front heavy. In terms of image quality, the E-M10 Mark IV is a step up from the E-M10 Mark III, having 20 megapixel image sensor versus the predecessor's 16 megapixels. However, I believe that the E-M10 Mark IV is using the same image sensor that is found in the Olympus Pen F. It is not the same 20 megapixels that is being used in the E-M1 Mark III or the E-M5 Mark III. Do bear with me. If you look into the exact megapixel count, the image sensor that is being used in the E-M1 Mark III and E-M5 Mark III, they have 20.4 megapixels, and at the same time they have face detect autofocus points built onto the sensors themselves. However, the E-M10 Mark IV and the Olympus Pen F, these cameras have 20.3 megapixels with no face detect autofocus. This simply means that you can expect the exact same image quality coming from the Olympus Pen F, and the image quality falls short from the flagship E-M1 Mark III and the E-M5 Mark III in terms of dynamic range and high ISO performance. Having used the E-M10 Mark IV extensively, shooting with this camera for several days, coming home with thousands and thousands of photographs, I can confidently tell you that I was perfectly happy with the image quality that this camera delivers. The 20 megapixel image sensor delivers plenty of resolution to go around. Even for today, I've never once wished that I had more resolution to work with. I managed to consistently capture sharp images with plenty of fine details and good contrast. I've also tortured the E-M10 Mark IV in harsh lighting conditions, with severe backlit situations, with plenty of highlight and shadow within the frame. The camera had no trouble producing a balanced looking images with very good dynamic range. I've also pushed this camera in low light shooting conditions. I was perfectly happy with the high ISO up to 3200. The images came out perfectly clean with minimal noise and with plenty of good details. I will not hesitate to go to ISO 6400. I'm still very happy with the images at 6400, but I wouldn't recommend you to go higher than that. When it comes to testing methodology, I only use one lens, the Olympus 12-40 f2.8 Pro. I shot all images in RAW and did minor post-processing with Olympus Workspace. Since Olympus Workspace uses the same JPEG engine as the one found in the camera, you can expect the images very close to what you can get straight out of the camera as well. If you're interested to view all these images in full resolution, I've provided a link to an online album. You can go to my blog for that. I'll leave the links in the descriptions below. The in-body 5-axis image stabilization is what separates the E-M10 Mark IV from other entry-level camera offerings. Olympus claimed that it can go up to 4.5 stops EV effectiveness. That is very impressive for an entry-level camera. Having tested this camera extensively, I can confidently handhold down to 1 second exposure. That is at 12mm end of the 12-40 lens. And at the 40mm telephoto end, I can handhold confidently down to half a second. Being able to slow down the shutter speed gives you a few advantages. I'm not asking you to shoot at half a second or 1 second all the time. That is not practical. You can shoot at dangerously slow shutter speeds like 1/10 of a second, 1/5 of a second, confidently nailing the shot, sharp shots again and again with no issue, and you don't have to bump up your ISO numbers unnecessarily. When it comes to autofocus, Just like any other Olympus OMD cameras, the single autofocus is blazing fast. The E-M10 Mark IV only has contrast detect autofocus, so I wouldn't recommend using the E-M10 Mark IV for fast-moving subjects, for any subject tracking scenarios, or for continuous autofocus operations. Just use the single autofocus. The autofocus is almost instantaneous. If you miss the shot, it's probably your fault. Don't blame the camera. It is blazing fast and super accurate. Although I've been shooting for the entire day from morning until late evening, I could not successfully drain the battery empty. I came home with about 800 to 900 shots and there was about 1 bar of battery left. It wasn't even blinking red. I don't know whether the battery capacity improved or it's the way that I've shot my images, which is more efficient over the years that I've been using Olympus cameras, but I can safely say that you can get 500 to 600 shots with a single charge to battery confidently with no issue. I've always mentioned that I'm not a cinematographer. I'm not qualified to comment on the video performance of the E-M10 Mark IV. I'm sure there are other more qualified YouTubers or reviewers who can make more meaningful comments and review the video aspect of the E-M10 Mark IV. However, I do plan to shoot a full video with the E-M10 Mark IV and I'll share some of my thoughts using the camera to shoot a video. Stay tuned for that. But looking at E-M10 Mark IV, it doesn't have a flip out swivel screen. It also doesn't have a microphone in. It doesn't seem like it's designed to be a serious video camera, and Olympus never claimed that the E-M10 Mark IV is a vlogging camera. At the same time, I can also see a lot of other reviewers will be bashing the E-M10 Mark IV for not considering vlogging seriously. It is freedom of speech, you can form your own opinion. I just feel that the E-M10 Mark IV is a photography-centric camera. It is never meant for the video crowd. That's all I have to share about the Olympus OMD E-M10 Mark IV. I personally think that this is a very capable camera. It delivers fantastic results. It can perform really well as long as you're not expecting it to do what it is not meant to do. It is not meant to shoot a lot of video, but for photography tasks, I see no reason why this E-M10 Mark IV cannot deliver. Of course, you shouldn't be expecting professional grade performance from the E-M10 Mark IV. This is not a pro grade camera. There's the Olympus E-M1 Mark III and the E-M1X to do the job. If you have found this review useful, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, or you may donate a small contribution to my PayPal account. I'll put the links in the descriptions below. Any small contribution can go a long way. It'll keep me alive and keep me going so that I can continue to make review videos like this and publish in this channel. Also, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, consider subscribing to this channel if you've not already done so, and I'll definitely see you again in the next video. Until then, stay safe, take care, and if you can, go out and take more photographs. Bye-bye.